Hello. This is Shane Brodie. I'm without my beard today, and I feel a little bit vulnerable. I just, every once in a while I get tired of my beard, so I will shave it down, and I have a little soul patch in my mustache. Those are also pretty short. Usually I have much more hair, so you get to see the full glory of my very round face. Hi, good morning. We're here in a fast food restaurant, and so there will be some background noise, some music. I have turned the gain down very, very low, and we're still getting pretty good sound quality anyway, so that's good. It's been a struggle this morning, but it's all right. It's worth it. It's worth it. We're in a part of Philadelphia that seems quite poor and impacted by poverty and probably some bad political decisions. It also is very vibrant. There's a lot of art in this area, and I'm so impressed with that, even with such dire poverty that is noticeable. Philadelphia is a real interesting place. I haven't spent much time here, but I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to meet my guest here. And she's going to introduce herself in whatever way she feels comfortable.
Hi, my name is Thea. I go by she, her pronouns.
And how do you identify in the sort of trans spectrum?
Trans woman.
Okay, trans woman.
Yeah.
And let's see. You mentioned that you have not been here in Philadelphia for very long. Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, I'm new to Philadelphia. I moved here in July. I lived in New Hampshire many years. Loved it there.
Oh yeah, you sound more like New Hampshire.
Yeah. And my parents died in 2012.
Okay.
And then my husband of 15 years died the following year. I was very grief-stricken. And I met a guy online who turned out to be a scammer. I lost my house. I lost everything.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, took thousands from me.
Was it like a credit scam?
No, it was a romance scam.
Oh, okay.
He was overseas and he claimed that he was stranded because of COVID. And could I please help him to get home? It started out real subtle.
Yeah.
And he built my trust, and little by little he just snatched everything right out from under me.
Yeah. That happens to a lot of elderly people as well. So people who are socially isolated, as well as elderly people who can sometimes be taken in by these scam artists.
Well, I can tell you, grief is a terrible thing, and it can make things happen that you can't even imagine.
Right. Yeah.
But I have family that lives in Pennsylvania, and they offered to help me, so I came down here.
Okay. Here in the Philadelphia area?
No, they live about 2 hours north from here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Philadelphia is. Pennsylvania is it's kind of a big state. I'm from the West, so the scale is different for me.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really beautiful too. It's. I'm amazed at how damp it is here.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I love Philadelphia because it reminds me a lot of Boston.
Oh, it does. Okay.
So it feels like home to me.
Yeah. The old buildings here are incredible.
Yeah.
As I was driving through the suburbs into town, there were just they look like mansions. I don't know what they are, but now they're big businesses. Like businesses took them over and refurbished them and have, kept them basically alive, because when a building is not occupied, it crumbles pretty quickly. And these had like copper on the top, like various flourishes on the top, and just beautiful. I know that sounds hokey, but I'm just stunned by all these old buildings out here.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, if you go to the old city part of Philadelphia, it's very reminiscent of Boston.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen windows and architecture that I've seen there.
Yeah. I bet. It's the same period of time, colonial.
Yes.
So there's a lot of colonial era buildings. Also, there's a lot of the Quaker meeting houses and influence. I noticed that here in Pennsylvania, of course. Lots of places where there's meeting houses, and even that's part of like the name of the places,
Well,
Yeah.
and that's common in New England too. I
Yeah.
mean, in New England we had the Shakers.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, those are the people that made interesting furniture, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know much about them. I believe that they're still around, but there's just like a
I think
small
there's one
handful.
left.
Yeah, there's just like a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. I believe they did ecstatic dancing during their services.
Well, that's why they were called Shakers.
That's right. I'm not sure why the Quakers were called the Quakers. Maybe it was something similar. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, but I know they have a deep history here in Pennsylvania. Speaking of that, are you a religious person at all?
Yes,
Okay,
I am
wow.
religious. You know, I belong to the Metropolitan Community Church here in
Okay.
Philadelphia.
And can you explain what that is?
It
MCC?
is. It's an LGBTQ affirming denomination.
Yeah. Isn't it Catholic based as well, or am I getting that incorrect?
I think it's a mixture of Catholic and Protestant.
Okay.
What I love about it though is like our pastors are all LGBTQ.
Yeah.
It's been a godsend for me to find a church that's affirming because
Yeah.
so many of us in the LGBTQ community have been severely hurt by organized religion.
That's right.
And to have a place where I can see my people worshiping God and having spirituality is so beautiful.
Right. And trusting the person that's also leading the service and having community around you, a loving community. Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you.
I love that.
I would not have survived half of what I've been through if it wasn't for my faith. My faith has got me through so much.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I came to Philadelphia, I was staying with my cousin prior, and she told me to leave. And I tried to get help where I was, and I couldn't get help. And I knew I was going to be home.
Up in New Hampshire?
No, in Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there are definitely very conservative parts of Pennsylvania. Yeah.
And I couldn't get help there.
Yeah.
And I was given referrals to 4 different counties and Philadelphia. And when I knew I was going to be on the street, I came to Philadelphia.
Where do those referrals come from?
211.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And that's kind of a helpline.
that's a
right?
helpline. Yeah.
Okay. What were you asking for on 211?
I needed shelter. I needed some place to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I came to Philadelphia totally in faith because I knew nothing about Philadelphia.
Right. And that's scary because, I mean, it's a really big city.
Yeah, it's a big city.
You know, New Hampshire is fairly small. I mean, the big cities in New Hampshire are really kind of just small towns.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
But it was a total walk of journey, and it was faith that brought me here.
Yeah. You know, I've heard that before. Actually, one of my first interviewees in this project, she's very involved with Shepherd of the Hills in, I think it's Good Shepherd. Shepherd of the Hills was a church that I worked for. Anyway, it's a Lutheran church down in Arkansas in the Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas area. And she said her faith helped her get through her transition.
Well, I know in New Hampshire, prior to coming down, I was staying in a hotel for 6 months.
Yeah. Wow,
Excuse
6
me.
months.
Yep.
Wow.
And there was one day that I was running out of money, and I knew that I was going to be put out.
Yeah.
And I remember walking outside and saying, "Thank you, God, for making me homeless." I mean, imagine saying those words.
Why did you feel okay with that?
Because I had to have faith.
Okay.
And you know, the minute I said those words, money came to me.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's an example of how God worked in my life.
Right.
You know, there's many times when I thought, this is it, this is the end. And right when I needed the help, it was there. And I know it came from God.
Yeah. Wow, you have a really strong faith. That's
Yeah.
lovely.
Well, you know, I never thought I'd become a Christian woman when I became a female.
When was that, by the way?
I was still in New Hampshire.
Okay.
I was working at a Lowe's part-time in Bedford. And one of my friends there was religious. And she said to me one day, she goes, you know, I was talking to my girlfriends at church that I work with this woman who totally inspires me and brings out the best in me. And she said to them, but she happens to be transgender.
Mm.
And these women thought that was wonderful and
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
And it totally floored me that religious people could feel that way.
Right.
Because my
Right.
experience all along was very bad.
Right, right.
And I said to her, wow, I got to meet these
What
ladies.
kind of church setting was this, by the way?
This was actually a traditional Christian church.
Okay. Would you say it was more conservative?
Yeah, it
leaning?
was more
Okay.
conservative, but I don't know, these people just had the heart of God.
Okay. So they were true in their faith and also in their love
Yes.
for other people.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And I said to her, I said, wow, I got to meet these people. They sound amazing.
Yeah.
And she said, well, come to church. So I did. And I introduced myself, and these ladies took me under their wing as if I was one of their own.
Wow. As a trans person?
Yes.
Wow, that's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that was Manchester Christian Church.
Awesome. Wow.
And I would sit in church and sob every service.
I gotta tell you, I also cry in church. I do.
Well, I'll tell you, I still cry in church.
Yes.
I've learned to not wear makeup because I'll look like Tammy Faye when I leave.
I understand.
It's like,
I always sit. I try to sit in the back just so that I can have access to like getting a breath or getting a tissue or something like that. Yeah, totally.
but you know, I learned going to church
Yeah.
that we have a special purpose in the kingdom of God. You know, and to me, knowing that I'm special to God
Yeah.
means a lot.
Yeah. Each person is right. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. That's great. Yeah. What in particular do you like about going to church? I mean, besides, it sounds like you have a great social network that you have cultivated or has taken
Well, I'll tell you,
rooms.
you know, I prayed about finding a church
Yeah.
here, and God led me to the Metropolitan Community Church,
Yeah.
and it's opened many doors for me.
Yeah. Had you heard about that before? Like
I knew
gay
of
affirming or
the
LGBT?
Metropolitan Community Church
affirming?
because years ago I lived
Yeah.
in Florida briefly.
Okay.
And I used to attend the one in Tampa.
Oh, okay. So you knew about it. Okay.
So I knew about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm here in the big city. Let me find one.
Right. Right. I believe there's some others too. There used to be one called Dignity. I'm not sure if they're still around. And then also there are factions of the main denominations that are very welcoming of LGBT people.
Well, ours is called Whosoever.
Okay.
And I love that.
Whosoever. All right.
Whosoever.
All right.
You know, I love that because that's exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
Whosoever is
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah. I really love this church in the East Bay of San Francisco. It's called City of Refuge. And I love that too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But I mean, since I started going to church, you know, it landed me a job.
Oh, really?
I'm a hairdresser, and
Okay.
one of the people I met there, her daughter works in a salon, and she's like, let me connect you with her. So I got a job.
Oh, great. Yeah,
Um,
that's usually how I've gotten my jobs too, is there's some sort of connection that's made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, every time I go to church, everyone's so happy to see me. I feel so loved.
That's great.
I've made great friends. I've even made transgender friends,
Oh, wonderful.
which makes me happy because I really didn't have a lot of those.
Right, right, yeah. So even though you were a trans person, you mostly were around cisgendered people and didn't know a lot of trans people.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's fine too. One thing that is great about being around other trans people, though, is that they can offer you mentorship and can give you, some guidance about like any kind of sort of medical stuff or, therapy, therapists and that sort of thing, if that's the kind of thing that
Well,
you
I'll
need.
tell you, that's
Yeah.
an issue right now that's really difficult.
Yeah.
Because when I came to Philadelphia, I thought, wow, this is great. I'll be
Yeah.
able to get the care that I need
Right.
easier and so forth. Because when I first moved to Pennsylvania, it was really difficult
Yeah.
finding medical care. I was turned down by a lot of doctors who would say to me right to my face, I'm sorry,
Right.
you're transgender, I won't treat you.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
These were just general practitioners and.
And well, this was mostly endocrinologists and things like that.
Endocrinologists, even?
Yep.
That's terrible.
And I'll tell you, coming from New Hampshire, where they do things correctly, by the way, I mean, it was a real eye opener.
So you had better care up in New Hampshire than you're getting here?
Yes, I'm.
Wow.
You know, there's an organization here that gets good reviews that I'm trying to get into, but there's a 6-month wait period.
Yes, I hear you. Since I've been traveling around. I came from Alaska, right? And so I've been traveling around, and because it's been several months, I've been needing, healthcare. And testosterone is a controlled substance.
Yeah.
So they won't give you very much at a time, right? You only just get a little vial or two, tiny vial or two. So you have to have consistent health care, right? I mean, you have to have consistent health care anyway, but, as you know, that's not the case for trans people at all.
No, and my insurance changed
Yeah.
when I came here because I'm on Medicaid, but the plan I had is offered in this area. So I had to pick another plan.
Sure.
And the medication I take, I guess, is a little bit higher of a dose, so
Okay.
it requires prior authorization.
I see, yeah.
So that's been a problem trying to get that sorted because I don't have somebody treating me at the moment.
Yes.
This last time that I got my medication, I had to actually pay out of pocket because I couldn't get anybody to do it.
So have you networked with other trans women or other trans people to find medical care that's outside of this specific clinic that you're on the waiting list for?
Yes,
Yeah.
and a lot of the recommendations I'm getting is Phlox, Plume, that sort of thing.
Yes, those are the online.
But I really want to meet. I mean, I really want a practitioner.
I think it's folks, not flocks.
Okay,
Folks.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. They do it in cursive, so it's actually a little bit hard to read. Yeah.
But I really want a practitioner that I can sit down face to face and.
Yes. And it doesn't have to all be about trans care either.
No,
You're a whole person.
Absolutely.
So you have other things going on, as I do as well.
Yeah.
But I've also had that experience where I've traveled around, I've called places, I've said, been on testosterone for 22 years, I just need a prescription, I'm traveling through, can you help me, can I see a doctor? No, 6 to 8 to month, waiting list.
Yeah.
For something that should essentially just be like a 10-minute
Absolutely.
talk with a doctor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, how I solved my problem was I reached out to the doctor I had prior to coming to Philadelphia.
Oh, great.
And I said to her, "This is the problem I'm having.
Yeah.
This is my new insurance. Would you
Yeah.
be kind enough to do a prior auth for me?"
There you go. Mm-hmm.
And she agreed to. So I'm hoping this month I don't have out-of-pocket expenses for that.
Right. Yeah. So it's a monthly thing.
Well, I won't. No, once she does the prior auth, I'll be fine.
Okay.
It's just new insurance.
Yeah.
Even though I've been getting this dosage for several years now.
Yeah. And I think other people besides trans people can probably sympathize with that, right? If you move to a new place, if you get a new insurance, whatever it is, there's always like this trouble that comes up.
Yes.
I mean, luckily now Obama put through that legislation or whatever it was, the bill that with ACA that took away the pre-existing condition, business, which hurt people forever.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Because if you're in a very mobile society, of course you're going to have pre-existing conditions, whatever with whatever new insurance you have.
Correct.
Because you're this person, and you've been living a life, So at least we don't have to worry about that. But there's always this mess that happens where you have to get authorized, and you have to find the correct doctors. And,
Yes.
And in your case, in my case, there's that extra level.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the whole prior authorization thing is a joke anyway because
it?
I've worked, I've done prior authorization.
Okay.
I worked for a hospital in New Hampshire
Okay,
for 14
sure.
years, and that's what I did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
So you know all the ins and
prior
outs.
authorization is
Yeah.
never a guarantee of payment.
Yeah,
So I don't know why they make you do it.
yeah. I don't know either. This is all new to me because I have rarely had insurance actually.
Thank God I'm insurance savvy.
Yes,
You
I
know.
am not. I grew up Christian Science, so I'm just ignorant. Seriously. Okay, so even though you are even a very savvy person when it comes to that, even you are having trouble.
Of course.
Oh, that's
And,
terrible.
and that's just some of the struggles we face.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our struggles really are the same as most other people.
Yes.
But we do have a few things that make it a little bit more difficult.
Yes.
Like, cis people don't have legislation that's being enforced that will
Yeah.
try to erase their existence.
That's right. That's right.
Cis people typically don't have to walk out their door and worry about being assaulted.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Cis people don't have to typically worry about losing their families just because of who they are.
Right. Yeah. 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 So before we got into the interview, I always ask my guests if there are things that they want to communicate or that they don't want to talk about. And you were mentioning that you had some bad events that happened before. To put it lightly.
Well, my story is quite tragic, but it's also a story of triumph. A lot of what happens to transgender people has happened to me. I was raped 3 years ago. I've been homeless, rejected by family.
Yeah.
But it's my faith that got me through it all.
Yeah. And specifically with sexual assault, how are you able to, function and, be brave as a trans
Well, I'll
person
tell
out
you.
in the world after that?
Because of my faith, I did something that most people probably would not do. I was lucky enough to be able to confront my attacker. I didn't go to the police at the time because I didn't feel safe
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, there's that extra level, right?
There's that extra
Because
level.
if you go to the police, then they could harm you.
Yep.
Yes.
So, and when the doctors examined me, they're like, what happened? Now, these men are intelligent men.
Yeah.
They know what happened,
Right.
but I wasn't going to tell them. But for some reason the rapist contacted me a few weeks after. And boy, I'll tell you, I had him in tears by the time I was done with him. And it was great because it helped me take my power back.
That's amazing that you did that by yourself without some sort of mediation, outside mediation. From
Well, I'll tell you,
somebody.
I was in therapy at the time for my transgender issues, and I talked to my therapist about it, and he said to me, I've never met anyone like you that could go through something like this and do exactly what you needed to do to protect yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And I made a decision to forgive that person. And I didn't do it for him, I did it for me.
Yeah.
Because I knew if I held that anger and that bitterness in my heart, it would change who I am.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that.
Wow. That's a unusual, but
It is an unusual, but I'll tell you,
very strong response.
it was the best thing I could have ever done because I'll tell you, the minute I did that, I was able to walk away from it and be okay.
Wow. Wow. Interesting.
It no longer affects me to this day. And I believe God made me go through that because there's somebody I'm going to meet, or there might be somebody that is going through it, and I'll know exactly what to say.
Oh, okay. So you can help somebody through their process.
Correct. Correct.
I see. Yeah, I've also unfortunately dealt with a serial abuser and sexual assault. Somebody that I went out with on some dates assaulted me, and this was a woman, a queer woman, a leader, in fact, a leader in the community in San Francisco. And it was very difficult to out this person. But she actually bragged about having done this to other trans men. Yes, yes. She did physical damage to me that I still have, actually, and this was almost 10 years ago. So when I heard that she had done this to other people, I knew I had to be really out about it. And I was, and I lost a community by doing that, but I'm okay because I outed her.
And you did the right thing.
Yeah, and other trans men actually came out about it afterwards.
Good.
Like half a dozen of them.
Good.
So she can't hide from that.
Good.
She can't hide from that
Good.
anymore. Yeah. So
that's
how I took my power.
We're
back.
only as sick of as our secrets.
Yeah. 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 Right.
So good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very difficult, but that's how I took my power back in the situation. Right. So I felt like I was going to protect other people.
Yeah, that's the thing about life. What works for one person may not work for the next person.
Right.
But I can tell you, the things I did really worked for me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, even with my family, it's okay.
Yeah. What is your relationship to your family now?
I haven't talked to my family in quite some time.
Yeah. Me neither.
They just can't get past who I am.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It speaks more about them than it does me.
Yeah.
I'll continue to love them and hope that someday there'll be reconciliation. But I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We make our own families.
Yeah, and also if that relationship is somewhat harmful, and you're putting a lot of energy into it, it can take away from your life that you're living right
Well,
now.
not only that, but when it comes to family, you have to ask yourself, would I tolerate this behavior from anybody else?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
99% of the time, the answer would be no, I wouldn't.
That's right.
And just because they're family does not give them special privilege.
That's right. People, I've told people about my being, basically alienated from my family, which is fine. I mean, alienation is kind of a harsh word to use. Just separate, I guess, emancipated from my family. And they tend to feel sorry for me. And there are definitely some difficulties with that, like financially, in terms of any kind of support or any kind of net that a family would give you. I've never had that ever, right? But I don't know where I'd be, frankly, if I had still kept that relationship going, right? It was quite harmful to me. So for me, it really was an emancipation.
I think it would have been harmful for me too,
Yeah.
knowing how they feel.
Yeah.
And I'm much better off, it's good for both sides.
Yeah.
Because
do you think that separation informs how you live your life currently? Because it certainly affects me. I'm very much about my own personal freedom now.
well, I did this for me and nobody else.
Yeah.
I owe nobody an explanation as to why I did it.
There you go. There you go.
I am very happy
You're
about
talking
who I
about
am.
your transition?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
I love it how you're kind of dressed up with the tiara and everything.
well, a lot of my friends say that I remind them of Marilyn
nails.
Monroe.
Okay.
And it's funny. There was an app where you can put your face on somebody's body,
Sure.
and I did for kicks and giggles on Marilyn's.
Sure.
And I was like, holy crap, I look just like her. I mean, obviously she'd be older like me now.
Yes,
so.
yes, right.
But
Yeah.
but I consider that a compliment.
Yeah, sure. I love your nails too. They look a little scary though.
Yeah, I just had them done a couple weeks ago. I'm crippled without my long nails. If I have short nails, I can't do anything.
Really? I would
Yeah.
think it would be the opposite.
No.
I tried growing my nails when I was, a girl, a long time ago. And they would break. I would smear the stuff. I mean, I couldn't deal with it.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm very much a girl
Okay.
in
Yeah.
every single way.
Yeah.
I mean, I always wear dresses. I never
Yeah.
wear pants.
What was it like? Did you have a childhood where you were expressing gender like this?
Well, that's the funny thing. My family said to me, we don't get this. You never talked about this.
Right. Yeah.
And I said to them,
Well, how can it's hard for children to.
Well, first of
to
all,
talk about
I
that
mean,
stuff.
I was born in 65.
Right. Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of information back then.
No.
And you certainly couldn't talk about issues like that back then.
No.
But I mean, the signs were all there. I mean, I loved playing dolls with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I loved dressing up. I mean, my quote unquote fort had curtains and a dish set, and I would have tea parties with my stuffed animals. I
Sure.
mean, I've been saying this my whole life. They just weren't listening.
Sure. Yeah.
I knew since I was this high
Okay.
that I was a girl.
Okay.
I didn't know how to
Yeah.
process it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I knew.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have information, if you don't have parents that are, looking out for you and see that in you and celebrate that.
Well, I'll
yeah.
tell you, my mom never got to see me as Thea.
Okay.
She passed before that happened.
Oh.
But she had a transgender friend in her building,
Oh, really? Okay.
and people were very cruel to this woman.
Mhm.
But my mom took her under her wing, and they were great friends.
Oh, wow.
And knowing how my mom felt about her, I know that she would have been perfectly okay with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's sweet. That's
For
that's a
me,
cool memory.
I was very anxiety-ridden as a male.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to take medication for my anxiety,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it came down to life or death for me.
Yeah.
I knew at some point I either had to transition or check out.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, well, you've got too much to live for. Why would you do that?
Well, you don't seem anxious now.
No, not at all. Despite everything I've been through, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my
Yeah.
entire life.
Wow. Yeah, even with, your living situation and, do you want to talk about that at all? by
Well,
the way?
I'll tell you, I'm currently in a woman's shelter.
Okay.
And,
It's amazing that you're so joyous because usually people are not feeling so good.
well, I'll tell you, I pray a lot because, it's like a prison.
Yes, it is.
Um,
It's interesting. How they're usually the rules and the setup and how they treat you is almost like a criminal.
But the good news
Yeah.
is I'm working with ACT UP to
Oh, really?
reform conditions for the homeless.
I didn't know ACT UP was still active.
Oh, yeah, they're great here.
Oh, really? It must be just small pockets of it because I haven't heard much from them. And I will tell you, I was in ACT UP when I was a teenager
Yeah.
in the late 80s.
Yeah.
So I guess they've been just kind of quiet for a while.
Well, unfortunately, these, not ACT UP, but where I'm at, they
Yeah.
upset the wrong woman. So I will make it my mission to make things change here.
Wonderful. I'm wondering too, how were you able? Because this is controversial. How were you able to get into a women's shelter? Because I say that because sometimes trans women are shut out of women's
Yeah,
shelters.
well, luckily, here in Philadelphia, it wasn't difficult.
Oh, good.
When I
good.
went to intake, I was up front with them right from the beginning. I said, I'm transgender, I'm a female. I do not want to be housed with men
Yes, right.
because to me that would be a dangerous situation.
Oh, it'd be so dangerous. So dangerous.
And they did that.
Oh, good.
And even at the
So
shelter.
you had a social worker who looked out for you.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
very clear and direct about what
Yes.
I want.
It seems like it. I love it.
And even in the shelter, there's certain things when it comes to bathrooms. I prefer to use a bathroom at the shelter that's a one-person bathroom.
Yeah, okay.
I prefer to shower in a one-person shower.
Yeah,
And not so much that I care about people seeing me, but it's out of respect for the other people.
yeah. It's also a privacy issue. Like, I also like single bathrooms just because I'm more of a private person. Mm-hmm. So,
Well, if I'm in public and
Yeah.
I can't find a general neutral bathroom, guess what, ladies? I'm coming in and I don't care.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
But a lot of people don't really know that I'm trans.
Okay. Yeah.
I look female, my voice is female.
Yeah.
So, not that you have to be passable to be trans, because that's not a requisition.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And also you have such a lovely outgoing personality. I'm sure that anybody who meets you is just like, even if they have some prejudice,
Yeah.
how could they treat you badly? You have such a lovely face, and just you're exuding this joy. I can see it.
Well, I'll tell you, once again, that's my faith.
Yeah. Right.
My faith gives me that confidence. It gives me that courage.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's funny. People often used to say to me, "Wow, I admire your courage." And I look at them and I say, "No. It took more courage to be who I used to be."
Right.
Because that person took all the abuse that I don't take anymore.
Right. Snap on this.
So,
Yeah. Also, when people do that, I always think it's a little bit strange because I've had people say that to me as well. Oh, you're so strong or whatever. I'm a little bit annoyed by that because that strength that they see in me is also their strength. You know, that they can tap into. So it's a little bit strange for people to be like, you're doing so well. Well, you have that as well. You have the power to change
course.
your own life as well, you know.
yeah, but you know, there seems to be a common thing with transgender people that when we are being who we are supposed to be,
Yeah,
there's that happiness that nobody could ever take.
that's right. That's right.
No matter
That's
what
right.
you're going through, what's
That's
happening,
Right. That's right.
that happiness, they can't touch.
That's right. And there, I mean, not to gloss it over though, I mean, there is a high suicide rate, unfortunately, and there's a high abuse rate, and there's high unemployment and that sort of thing. But there's also, like you're saying, so much joy, so much resilience, community building, survival techniques that, you know, trans people cultivate in the world, even though the world is so often so against us, you
Yeah.
know. So when people say that we're weak or we're snowflakes or something like that, I'm like, you don't know trans people.
Well,
then,
this
you
is
know?
why doing this very thing is important to me,
Oh, good.
because
Good.
we need to put a face on it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if people see us
Yeah.
and realize that we're just like them,
That's right.
that we have a lot of the same struggles they have,
Yes. Or faith and love and connection,
Correct.
all that stuff.
you know, it erases those stereotypes
Yeah.
and those stigmas
Right.
that are out there.
Right. The distance.
You
The
know.
distance. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I love the person I used to be, because that person really was the brave one, the strong one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it takes some forgiveness too of the younger person that maybe I was or that you were, or, you know, I don't want to impose anything, but sometimes I get mad that why didn't I do this? Why didn't I, you know, leave sooner, or why didn't I, you know, rebel more in certain ways or whatever. But then I have to forgive myself because, you know, I was a kid,
Yeah.
you know, or I was, you know, economically dependent,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. So there's different ways that people survive, you know.
Well, I mean, I lived many years as a gay man because I thought that was the best I could get,
Sure, sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Do you still identify with being part of the queer community at all?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. But, I mean, my sexual orientation now, I consider myself straight in that regard because
Okay.
I'm a female now who likes men.
Sure, sure.
So,
In terms of community, though, it sounds like you are still connected with the queer community.
oh, absolutely.
Yes,
And you
yes.
know what? I will stand up for my brothers and sisters no matter what.
Yeah, yeah.
I will do it, which isn't often the case when it comes to transgender. I mean, there's a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, from my observation, that wish the T would go away.
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of that as well. I mean, in the 90s, we heard about that, right? Because trans people were becoming more politically recognized, right? They were adding the T on
Yeah.
to things and considering trans people's needs in terms of community activism and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But and then there was this period where things were kind of progressing for a while. I think some of the hatred, some of the separatism, for instance, the lesbian separatism, the what we call TERF ideology and that sort of thing, that kind of went underground a little bit, and it was, you know, activists worked really hard to change that, but now it's just like this, like, horrible resurgence of all that stuff. I mean, this is old. This is really old thinking.
I'm seeing things today
It's terrible.
being said about the trans community that I heard 30 years ago.
Exactly.
As a gay person.
Exactly.
Same thing, word for word.
It's the same tropes. It's the same tropes. Yep.
And it was all crap then, and it's still crap.
And all the basis of it is hatred too. It's
Absolutely.
not about building a better and more inclusive and loving gay community or lesbian community. It's about just hurting other people.
Well, I don't understand how anyone who's been marginalized could marginalize anyone else.
Yeah.
I don't
right.
get that,
Right. I can see some of the logic of it. Strange. It's a sick kind of logic, but it's like, oh, if we cut the trans people out, the conservative people might think we're okay then.
No,
but it's not
because
true.
they'll come after them next.
That's right, and we have seen that as well.
Yeah.
They start out with one group and then they just keep moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
The thing is that trans people are the most vulnerable.
Yeah,
right?
we are.
Yep.
We are.
Yep.
That's why I'm putting myself out here, because I feel that strongly about it.
Right. Have the pastors at your church, have they talked about some of these issues at all?
Oh yeah.
From the pulpit?
Yeah, I mean, one of our pastors is a trans woman.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm going up to New York at some point, and I'm going to talk to a trans woman who's a pastor up there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what was discussed, I guess, in the sermon or in Bible study?
I mean, a lot of our services revolve around LGBTQ issues and inclusiveness.
Yeah.
So there's really not one particular thing that's being said. It's just constant reaffirmation
Yes.
that we are special in God's eyes.
Yes.
And that God loves us.
Yes. Tell me more about what ACT UP is doing.
ACT UP is really involved right now in Philadelphia, trying to improve the conditions of homelessness.
Okay. So specifically, they're working on the homelessness.
They are working on homelessness, and
Wonderful.
I'll tell you,
Wonderful.
I'm proud of them. I mean, they're doing a great job.
Yeah. Great. So what kind of things are they doing?
They're working on a Bill of Rights.
Okay. Is that maybe through the mayor's office?
Yes, and they're working on improving conditions of shelters, conditions of treatment.
Just in general.
Yep.
Yeah.
Conditions of treatment, holding people accountable for their actions.
Yes. Yeah. And speaking of sexual assault, there's also a lot of sexual assault that often happens around actual shelters.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, I've been lucky that hasn't happened to me.
Yeah. I've been to other cities. I've traveled around a lot. When I was younger, I was freight train riding and that sort of thing. And I was in Cincinnati once, and that was when I was a female and looked female. So I stayed at the women's shelter, and the women there told me that there were sexual assaults just outside of the actual shelter, right? And when you walked outside, you would get harassed, directly from men who were just kind of hanging out and waiting for you.
Well, I'll tell you, I get a lot of cat calls, a lot of that everywhere I go. But I'm so used to it now that it's just half the time I don't even pay it no mind.
Yeah. I wonder about safety in
I'll tell
reacting to it.
The only time I worry is when I have to come home late at night and I get off the train and I have to walk back to the shelter.
Okay.
I'm saying a lot of prayers that I make it home safely and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So,
but God walks with me too.
That's right.
So
That's right. And I'm imagining too, you look out for yourself in various ways. Yes.
I'm very careful. I'm always aware of what's around me.
Yeah. Not on the phone and.
No, you don't want to be on your phone. You don't want earbuds in.
Right. I worry about young women sometimes when I see them.
Yeah.
On their phone or with the earbuds. Yeah.
But I mean, I had an experience recently. I mean, this is not my hair, but I have a lot of hair under here. It's just very fine. So that's why I wear wigs. I like the thicker hair.
Yeah. Daryl Hannah is like that too.
Is she really?
She has extremely fine hair.
Yeah.
So she often wears wigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I wear them, because I like thicker hair.
Yeah.
I always said in my next life I'll have thick hair, but I'll have 4 legs and a tail too. But I was on the train a few weeks ago,
Sure.
and these teenagers walked by. And I was talking to a friend who was from the shelter. All of a sudden, I felt this hand on the back of my hair.
Oh, no.
And they ripped my wig off and threw it on the floor.
Oh, no.
And I'll tell you, God is so good because not one person laughed at me. If anything, they looked at me with empathy. You know, like, I'm sorry, ma'am, that happened to you.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. That's
But
awful.
I'll tell you, I'm more scared of the teenagers here
Yeah.
than I am of any other group because
Yes.
I've seen them do terrible things. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
last week I was at a Defend Democracy rally at City Hall.
Oh, good. Great.
And,
so you're also politically active in that
honey,
way.
I'm from New Hampshire. We're very political.
All right, all right, all right.
But,
Well, there's some extra, if you're doing any kind of civil disobedience as a trans person, it's a little bit scary. Maybe a little bit more scary than it is with cisgendered people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it is.
well, I got to hold the transgender flag at this rally, so I was a
excellent.
happy girl.
Excellent. You were carrying the banner.
Oh, you know it. And waving it proudly. But I saw 5 teenage kids.
I gotta. Can I have your hand for a second? Thank you.
I saw 5 teenage kids
Yes.
jump this other teenage kid
Oh.
right in the middle of City Hall.
Yes.
I'm like, what is wrong with this generation?
It sounds like you're doing great. I mean, you're doing activism, which is amazing. As somebody who's, homeless. I mean, you're here in this new place and you're doing well. You're accessing health care and you're not putting up with crap around health care, which
No.
is another thing, right?
Well, like I said, I came from New Hampshire where things are done correctly. I mean, we have full protection statewide in New Hampshire.
Yes.
If you're transgender in New Hampshire, they cannot touch you.
Is that not the case here in
No,
Pennsylvania?
no. In
Wow.
Pennsylvania,
I would think it would be the
it
other
varies.
way.
It varies.
Okay.
It's you could have protection in one town, but not in another.
Okay. It's strange. It's so strange because Pennsylvania is very blue in some parts. It's very progressive, and then it's not.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, when I was 2 hours away, it was like that.
yeah,
But nobody knew I was trans.
yeah, yeah.
They all treated me as if I was a biological female.
Yeah,
So I never really had any problems
Yeah.
going out in public.
Yeah.
Other than, the typical,
yeah,
hey, can I have your phone number, that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. There's some advantages to being stealth. Yeah,
But it is what it is.
yeah. Well, It sounds like you're doing really well, even though you're what some people might consider in a really low spot. I mean, you're just kind of flourishing.
Well, I'll
You're
tell you, I
flourishing.
get up every morning, I smile,
Yeah.
and I thank God for another day.
Yeah,
You know,
that gratitude is important. Yeah, yeah.
I know that things aren't where I want them to be right now, but they're not going to always be like this.
Yeah. And those are just circumstances.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
The real important parts of me, I'm very secure in.
Yeah. That's right. So you can be secure in yourself and your faith and your community, but your circumstances, those are temporary.
Well, I mean, look
Those
at the
are
way I'm
temporary.
dressed. You would never know I was homeless.
Yeah, that's right.
You would never know that.
That's right. That's right.
But, just because I'm homeless doesn't mean I have to look homeless. I'm like, I'm going to dress how I want to be.
That's right. That's right.
I want to look successful and be successful.
That's right. That's right. So, what kind of work are you looking for, by the way? Is it once again in the medical field or something?
No, I'm a hairdresser.
Oh, okay, that's right. You
Yeah.
mentioned that. Okay.
And I'm doing very well there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Is this a salon that caters to the LGBT community?
Well, everyone in the shop is LGBTQ.
Okay, great.
And it's in a fairly good part of the city.
Okay. Is it like a gay neighborhood, kind of shishi or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
also has there's also Society Hills near there, which is like an affluent area.
Okay.
So,
So you have some of that clientele, yeah. Yeah, that's important. I have been doing gig work to fund this project. So I'm living on nothing, basically. I'm driving on fumes most of the time because gig work is really difficult. It's really on the edge. But when I go to a new city, I have to figure it out sort of instantly. And definitely, I go to those areas. I look it up. I look up what the wealthier neighborhoods are, because, that's where I'm going to get the tips. So,
well, really, you're no different than me in the sense that you're walking in faith too every day.
That's right. And meeting new people all the time. And, having to, and sometimes I go to people's houses, and that's faith on their part as well as my part, right? Yeah.
But, a lot of people in society don't realize that LGBTQ people are spiritual as well.
Yeah.
And can be.
I agree. Yeah. In fact, online, I often see people say, you can't be Christian and be whatever. It's like, how are you human, going to mediate between somebody and God?
Well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be them at the end when God asks them, what did you do for the least of these?
That's right.
Because it's going to be a tough question for them to answer.
That's right.
God commanded us to love.
That's right.
And I strive for that every day.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end. I so appreciate you meeting with me today. We've both come a long distance to be here. I was driving around, and you're the only person I'm interviewing here in Philadelphia, and I just love it that you're a homeless woman and you wanted to be interviewed.
Well, I'll tell you too, and I feel it's important to say this. I got involved with the Eastern Pennsylvania Trans Equity Project prior to coming down here, and they are doing. I submitted my photo and my story to them, and it's currently traveling all over Eastern Pennsylvania along with others.
Is that like an oral history project or something like that?
Well, basically they have everyone's story printed out that they wrote and their photo. And it's traveling to different places in Eastern Pennsylvania to bring awareness that we're here in the community, that we're valuable citizens, that we have the same struggles as you.
Who are they contacting? Who are they meeting?
Well, I know that currently the exhibition is at Cedar Crest College in Allentown.
Okay.
On display.
It's an exhibition that travels. Okay,
yes.
Great. I'm gonna try and look that up and find a link to it.
Yeah.
So I'll try to put that with this video. All right. Well, it's so great to meet you.
Likewise.
I
thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for coming out today. I love it. I love your story. I love your resilience, and your joy as a parent.
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, my story is tragic, but it's also triumphant.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to let people know too. That no matter what your circumstance, you can rise above it.
That's right. And I think a lot of people can sympathize as well as empathize with that, right? Because everybody has their struggles. Everybody has their things that they go through in life. And trans people are no different, although we may have a few more challenges.
Yes.
We might need a little bit more of a hand up. People might need to reach out to us a little bit more and help us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to get the two hands here. Love it. Thank you so much. Now I'm heading north, and I'm going to talk to that pastor. So this is a good...
Well, say hi to New England for me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't like about Philadelphia. They don't say wicked or pack the car.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. Somebody was mentioning wicked pissa, but I have no idea what that means.
Very funny.
Oh, is that what it means?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's an easy description.
It sounds very negative.
Well, yeah, it does. It sounds like you're peeing on somebody, but really, it's no.
Okay. So it's actually kind of funny. Okay. All right. Any New Hampshire isms that come to mind? Like, is there any sort of slang that you can think of that?
Well, now because Manchester's so close to Boston that
true.
It's similar.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
So it's regional. Okay.
But I can tell you, I do have that live free or die spirit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is so New Hampshire.
Yeah. Actually, in terms of my project, most of my participants so far have been from northwestern Arkansas and New Hampshire. So many people wanted to talk to me in New Hampshire. Some of them didn't work out, just timing and whatever.
Well, I'll tell you, New Hampshire is
Yeah.
a great state.
Yeah.
It's a great state.
Yeah, and it's lovely too. There's lots of trees and
Well, in an hour, you could be anywhere. You could be
Yeah.
in the city. You could be
Yeah.
at the ocean. You could be in the mountains.
Yeah.
You could be in the lakes.
skiing and I saw watercrafts on the lakes, and then you have the ocean. I think there's even some islands that people go out to, and
Isle
they
of
have
Shoals.
big
Yep.
big events out there. Yep.
And they have wicked good lobster.
Yeah, wicked good. Too expensive for me though. So anyway, I wish you so much luck, but you obviously don't need luck. You
Honey, I have Jesus.
That's right.
I've got all I need.
That's right. And you also, not only that, but you, in a more secular sense, you're also, you're looking out for yourself in terms of, finding opportunities like work
Yeah.
and where to live, and you're dealing with people in such a great way, in a way that makes it really easy for them to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Well,
I love that.
someone once said, if you're not fulfilling your dream, you're fulfilling someone else's.
Yeah. There's a lot you could say about that. That kind of wraps up capitalism.
There you go.
The evils of capitalism. Anyway, so let's go ahead and end this. I really hate ending these interviews sometimes because I just have so much fun in them. But gotta go.
All
Gotta
right.
go north.
Bye.
All right. Bye, y'all.